The narrative begins in the winter of 1953. Inside a house, we see three young people in the attic, playing with dark spirituality. Anna, her brother Max, and a friend Mary. They are inside a sacred circle, performing a ritual to summon some entity from beyond, so they can play a deadly game. Suddenly, things begin to get strange, and one of the little girls steps outside the circle. Her companions ask her to return, because only inside it will she be safe. The young girl reflects and decides to go back. However, at that moment, a demonic hand emerges from the darkness, grabbing her leg and dragging her into the shadows, leaving her companions terrified. Anna's brother, Max, inside the circle, tells the entity in the shadows that it must leave, because the rules of the game determine that, at a certain hour, everything ends when they extinguish the candles. However, the creature partially emerges while holding its victim and says that all of them lost the game. Frightened, the other two run away, fearing they will be the next to be destroyed. The children run downstairs to the living room and hide. The humanoid creature searches for them, but does not attack them, only frightens their hearts and eventually forces the boy to leave the house. At that moment, the little girl named Anna asks her friend to return, because the rules state that they cannot leave, or they will certainly be killed. The boy does not listen and ends up being surprised by the creature, which emerges from smoke and drags him into the shadowy beyond. Lamenting, Anna returns inside, knowing that the evil entity has been unleashed. The scene then changes to the present, where Anna's granddaughter, Kelly, enters her grandmother's bedroom to put her back in bed. She came to the city and is responsible for taking care of Mrs. Anna after the death of her grandfather and her own mother. She follows the medical advice rigorously. However, Anna always asks her granddaughter to check the doors and windows to make sure everything is locked. The young woman goes downstairs and speaks with her childhood friend Miles, and he offers to spend the night with her, talking and taking care of Mrs. Anna, who has health problems and appears mentally fragile. The bedroom intercom echoes with the grandmother talking to herself, so Kelly says she has to hang up. They arrange a time to meet, and Miles asks her to leave the front door open. Kelly opens the door and goes upstairs to her grandmother's room, finding her sitting on the bed. She informs her that her friend is coming to visit them, and the old woman becomes happy with the news, but soon her expression changes and she says she never liked old friends. Kelly knows the old woman is delirious and simply asks whether she wants anything. Anna states that she needs nothing, and then when the young woman is about to leave, she asks for a hand mirror, something she would like to admire, and also to remember her deceased companion. Kelly asks where she left it last time, and Anna, irritated, says that it is in the attic. Kelly calmly says she will get it and then leaves. She checks the leaks in the Rose greenhouse and then goes to organize the stopped clocks. Suddenly, a human silhouette passes through the hallway behind her, but Kelly does not notice. Then she walks through the rooms and comes across a covered statue. Feeling a little afraid because she is still alone, she approaches and removes the cover, only to check the mannequin. After covering it again, she goes to the chest to get what her grandmother asked for. While looking through some things, she finds some ammunition and also a gun wrapped in cloths. There is also a doll's head, paintings, small boxes, and her grandmother's mirror. Suddenly, Miles touches her shoulder and briefly scares her. He questions his friend about why she is there, since her grandmother always forbade them from entering that place. Saying that she came at her grandmother's request, he relaxes and asks his friend if he can invite their friend Helen to stay with them. Kelly reflects on the young woman's behavior, but eventually agrees. They continue looking through the things in the chest, and one box catches their attention. The container is tightly sealed, showing that the owner did not want anyone else to open it. Kelly wonders what would happen if they opened it, but Miles says maybe nothing, and claims it could just be an old toy belonging to their grandparents. But to scare his friend, he also says it might be something dark that was kept there so it would never be found again. Being curious, they decide to open it. Miles is chosen and begins opening it. As soon as they remove the lid, they come across some candles, a small salt shaker, a pencil, and papers. When Miles picks up the paper, he notices names written on it, with signatures and fingerprints marked with blood. Kelly checks and becomes surprised by the discovery, seeing the name of her grandmother, her brother Max, and some others. There are photos of the teenagers there, and behind them are written the children's fears. The young people become surprised and confused by the discovery. At that moment, Anna suddenly appears screaming at them, furious because they opened the game. She faints and falls to the ground, forcing the young people to help her and call the doctor. 1 hour later, Dr. Harding checks the old woman's condition and states that she will be fine. His assistant Liam, recently graduated in medicine, prepares the medication, stating that Anna has been taking it for many years. Kelly says she has never seen her grandmother so frightened and furious, simply because she saw them in the attic. The doctor listens to the report and asks his assistant to finish the procedure while he and the young people wait downstairs. Liam prepares the dosage, but does not notice that Anna is awake. In the living room, the doctor questions the young people's account and asks Kelly to lock Anna's door from the inside, because for years the old woman has not left the room and he fears for her safety, since the house is old and a harmful accident could happen. He gives his private number and says goodbye after Liam says everything is in order and that he left the necessary medicine in case she feels pain. As soon as the doctors leave, the young people once again question the horrifying expression on Anna's face, because everything happened due to an opened box. Kelly remembers the word game, and curious to know what her grandmother meant, returns to the attic with her friend. They pick up the pieces of the strange game, unaware that it interferes with dark spirituality. The description displays the name, the Midnight Game. The rules for the players are also there. Miles states that it does not seem like a fun game, and Kelly confirms this after reading the objective. It is a game that seeks to summon the midnight creature, but for that they must follow the instructions, write their names, sign with blood, light a candle, and then turn off all the lights. While they do this, the following scene shows that Anna is not lying down, but entering the wardrobe. She is terrified, knowing that midnight is approaching and the feared demon may soon return. Back in the entrance room of the house, the young people stick the paper with the signatures onto the door, and the instructions say they must knock several times as soon as the clock strikes midnight. They do this and then open the door. Miles steps outside and extinguishes the candle on the outside, then comes back in to relight it again. After doing this, Kelly reads another instruction. It says that the midnight creature is now inside the house, and they must avoid it until 3:33 in the morning. The final instructions written on the paper are torn, and now the conclusion of the game becomes difficult to discover. Inside the wardrobe, Anna begins behaving strangely, with terrifying expressions. In the attic, the two young people cannot find the missing part of the paper, but they do not believe the game is realistic. Hearing the grandmother's voice through the bedroom intercom, Kelly goes upstairs to see how she is doing. Miles asks her to take a candle, being ironic about the rule that they must walk through the house holding them. Kelly walks through the darkness of the residence, while Miles searches for the other torn part of the paper. Inside a small book, he finds it and puts the pieces together. He reads that the participants must move through the rooms, and if the candle goes out, they only have 10 seconds to relight it. If they fail, they must surround themselves with a circle of salt. By not following the rules correctly, the creature will manifest and torment them with their worst nightmares. When Kelly enters the room, she does not see her grandmother. She places the candle on the fireplace dresser and goes to look inside the bathroom, but does not find the old woman. At that moment, Anna extinguishes the candle and begins counting the game's seconds. Suddenly, the bathroom door is locked, and Kelly believes her grandmother is playing with her. But suddenly, the creature emerges behind her in shadow and smoke and screams, questioning the young woman about her fears. Her grandmother is lying down, listening to screams of fear, but does nothing when she sees something inside the wardrobe asking her to remain quiet. Inside the bathroom, Kelly emerges from a bathtub filled with red liquid and begins vomiting blood. Anna, outside, behaves crazily, outside her normal state of mind. Suddenly, Miles enters and sees the old woman lying peacefully, suspecting nothing. Soon after, he hears his friend groaning choking sounds and opens the bathroom door to help her. She sees herself dirty, but soon Miles brings her back to consciousness and discovers it was a realistic nightmare. Realizing that his friend was attacked by supernatural forces, Miles surrounds her with a circle of salt. She questions what happened, and her friend asks for her candle to relight it, stating that they should never have started the game. When they both have their candles lit, Miles says they need to finish the game in order to survive, because the rules make it clear about the terrible things that will happen to anyone who breaks them. Kelly questions him about her beloved grandmother, but her friend speaks without knowing that the old woman is not participating in the game. As soon as they leave the room, whispers echo from inside the wardrobe, showing that the creature is still in there. In the kitchen, Miles instructs his friend about what she should do if something unexpected happens or if they get separated. Kelly asks her friend what he is talking about, and then Miles tells his experience. He intentionally extinguished his candle and waited for the time when the evil would manifest itself, and consequently, he was surprised. In the attic, he heard Grandmother Anna's voice saying that he must die just like the others, and suddenly the mannequin mysteriously uncovered itself and slowly approached him. Thinking it was Kelly trying to scare him, he checks the other room beside it, but suddenly the mannequin disappears and reappears on the other side. The young man begins to feel afraid. Suddenly, the disfigured demonic creature appears and grabs Miles's face, causing him pain. Fortunately, the creature stops when Anna extinguishes Kelly's candle. Miles awakens from the illusion and relights his candle. Back in the present, he is carrying the salt shaker in the kitchen when Helen arrives. Kelly says it was not the best time for the visit. Questioning the statement and the reason for it, the two take her to the living room and reveal everything about the game they are playing. The young woman mocks the situation, barely believing in the reality of the cursed game. However, based on tales and legends, she knows it could be something mysterious and macabre. Wanting to help her friends in case it is real, she wishes to join the game. The young people say it is not a good idea, but the dark presence is inside the house, causing winds that extinguish the candles. Desperately, they relight them, and knowing that there are still 2 hours left before the game ends, realize they need help. Because of this, they accept Helen into the game after explaining the rules. The group now walks through the house, not noticing that evil hides within the shadows, waiting for the moment to attack them. They continue and go to the Rose greenhouse, where the place is abandoned. Kelly says that ever since her mother died, the place has never been the same. Perhaps it has something to do with the way her mother died, since mysteriously she ended her own existence inside that house. Kelly talks about the tragic event in her life and states that she witnessed everything with her own eyes, together with her grandmother. At that moment, Kelly questions her friends about her mother's mysterious death and the lack of apparent reasons. However, having already experienced part of the game's consequences, she blames the game for the death. Kelly also speaks about her grandmother's actions, who, even after witnessing the horrifying scene, acted as if nothing was happening, and in the following days constantly stared at the mirror she had previously requested. The young woman imagines that her grandmother was not admiring her beauty, but staring at something she could see through the reflection. When Kelly angles the mirror toward her back, she sees the demonic creature smiling maniacally behind them. However, the creature is not visible in the real plane and only reveals itself when it wants to. Suddenly, Helen's candle goes out because of a drop falling from the ceiling, and there is no time for Miles to relight it. The solution is to surround her with a circle of salt. Kelly talks about candles they can use, but they need to fetch them, leaving their friend alone there. Miles says the young woman only needs to remain inside the circle, that way she will be safe. Helen becomes frightened by her friend's departure and waits anxiously. In another room, the others talk and state that they need to destroy the game so no one else will be lured and consequently killed by the creature. When Kelly searches for the candles with Miles, they are surprised by Dr. Harding, who knows about the game and has something to say about Anna. Back in the greenhouse, the place is becoming cold, and Helen begins to encourage herself, telling her surroundings that she does not fear the monstrosity because it is not real. Suddenly, her thoughts are confronted when she hears the creature's deep voice claiming that it will destroy her. Upon seeing the silhouette of the dark entity, Helen remains trembling inside the circle. However, the creature cunningly pierces the water bucket with one of its claws, and the water moves toward her to undo the protection. Thinking quickly, Helen uses the sand from a vase and blocks the water from reaching the salt, an action that impresses the demon. However, there are other fuller buckets, and the creature knocks them over, thus forcing the circle to break. Suddenly, Helen is mentally attacked and begins experiencing her worst nightmare. The creature transforms into the rabbit she killed when she was a child, something that has tormented her for a long time. Soon she sees herself holding a knife and uses it against herself. Suddenly, the action proves illusory and everything returns to normal. At the front door, the doctor learns there is another player and states that alone they are in greater danger. Miles states that she is safe inside the salt circle, but then the doctor says he was present on the night when his friends and grandmother Anna were playing the game. Although he did not participate because he was the youngest, he still witnessed the supernatural inside the house. He states that among those who played, only Anna survived the attack of the Midnight Demon. However, after years since the incident, old Anna still constantly continues playing the cursed game, as if she were driven to do so, and apparently has the creature's help in attracting more players to play with her. The young people ask more about what he knows, and Harding states that the entity is pagan, and this monster only knows how to punish those who play its game, adding that evil is deceitful and usually manipulates the breaking of rules for its own benefit. Meanwhile, in another room, Helen finds herself in a horrifying situation where the entity's voice continues tormenting her, leaving her mentally disturbed. She soon sees herself in her house, where she killed her pet. Helen picks up the rabbit and holds it in her arms, while the entity claims that the game is over for her. When the doctor remembers Helen, he says she must already be under the strong influence of the evil being, and the only thing they can do is go to the attic and destroy the game. However, Kelly decides to go check on her friend. When they arrive at the greenhouse, they witness the horrifying scene of Helen dead, lying on the floor after ending her own life. Having nothing else to do, they continue toward where the game is located. As soon as they leave, Anna appears and watches smiling as the creature drags Helen's body into the shadows. Back in the attic, Kelly sees that on her mother's photo, her fear was written. Fear of heights, and the way she died was related to that. At that moment, Kelly discovers that her grandmother deceived her mother into playing without explaining the rules, and consequently she is guilty of the crime against her mother, and now believes that her grandmother intentionally made her go to the attic to open the box, and play the game. The doctor says that nothing else matters. They just need to protect themselves. Suddenly, Anna appears behind them and accuses her deceased daughter of being a lying thief, which angers Kelly. The doctor asks his old friend to stop what she is doing with the entity, and begs for the ending and destruction of the midnight game. However, she behaves like a puppet, showing everyone that she is under the entity's control. The candles go out, but the young people are inside the circle. They ask the doctor to enter, but he says the entity cannot touch him. Unfortunately, although he was correct, he disregarded old Anna. The old woman suddenly appears behind him and throws him to the ground, violently assaulting him with supernatural strength and fury disproportionate to her age. Suddenly, Kelly shoots her in the shoulder, forcing her to stop the attack. Mrs. Anna looks at her young granddaughter and claims that she regrets what happened because she has mental problems and needs help. Kelly does not believe the lie, which causes fury in the possessed woman, who reveals her face transformed into something demonic. To put an end to her grandmother's horrifying acts, Kelly shoots and finishes her. Then, the creature appears before them, claiming that the terror is not over for them yet. At that moment, the chime of 3:30 in the morning rings, and there are only 3 minutes left for the game to end. Believing they managed to finish the game while still alive, Kelly confronts the abomination about its defeat against them. The entity changes its features into a sad and disfigured face and leaves the place. The young people wait until the clock strikes 4, and only then decide to leave the circle. Miles steps out and goes to check the doctor's body, and receives an unfortunate surprise. The man's clock will still strike 3:30, and this makes the young man remember the doctor's words about the entity manipulating factors for its own benefit. The scene shows a flashback where the entity advanced the clock a few minutes, something the group failed to notice. Alarmed by the discovery, the friend screams to Kelly that the game's ending time has not arrived yet. Suddenly, the entity emerges from the shadows and kills Miles. Afterwards, it approaches young Kelly, claiming that the game is over for everyone, and its victory was inevitable. In the following days, acquaintances visit the auctioned house, and Liam's son is with him. The box is tightly closed among the belongings on top of the table. Not knowing how the box ended up there, Liam's son, attracted by the mystery, asks his father to keep the box. Such a request is accepted. Consequently, unaware of the creature, the young boy will continue the game and the deaths for the midnight entity.